Hey guys, so you might remember this chair from a few builds ago. And when I made it, I had another, I don't know, about 20 inches of slab left over. And I really didn't want to waste it because it's a really pretty cedar. So what I did was I made this little end table to go with it. So that 20 inches of slab that I had left over, I cut it down the middle, reversed them, made a little river table. Then I had, I'm gonna guess it was about an 8-inch diameter log laying around. That was probably also about 14 inches long. So I just cut that 4 ways and made the legs out of it. So this video is going to be making this little end table. All right, let's get into the build.
Okay, so we're starting here with the nylon wire wheel to clean up all the bark, the loose debris and dirt from the live edge here before we set it in our molds for the epoxy pour. Now, this piece of slab was already split in two when I started. I think when I originally cut it off the Viking chair, there was a split in it, and when I cut these 20 inches off, it just broke apart, so you didn't miss anything with me cutting it in half. Now, in that Viking chair video, I mentioned I'm going to be having a giveaway, and I promise that video is coming soon. I just have a few more edits to make. So if you want to get in on the flattening bit giveaway, make sure you subscribe and hit that notify button so you don't miss out your chance to win. Okay, back to the video. So I already have the two pieces set in the mold. Now these are about 16 inches long, and the total width of the table is about 10 inches or 9.5, somewhere around there. And I've already mixed up some epoxy with some mica color, and it's kind of like this purpley pink color. I was trying to match the tones in the cedar, so that's how I came up with this color. So I'm just sealing it just to reduce bubbles before the actual deep pour. Now, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I forgot to tape my mold with seam tape. So it's going to be good times later trying to release this table from the mold. So what was left over from the sealing process, I just dumped into the mold. That's what you see there. And now I'm pouring the full deep pour over it. So the stuff that I poured in the bottom was just a little tacky at this point when I started the deep pour. And again, this is just mica flake that I added to the epoxy to tint it. Now the top of these live edges are weathered silver, as you can see, and it's really not meshing well with this purple epoxy, but I promise you once I plane off the top and reveal the color of the cedar, it really goes well together. And also this purple kind of mellows out a little bit. It goes a little bit more pink as it cures. So just a little stir up here, then I'll come back and pop the bubbles with a torch off camera, and then straight to the slab flattening here. So you can see the piece of OSB from the melamine mold here. Yeah, it didn't come off, so I'm gonna flatten the top, and I'm gonna flip it over and flatten the bottom to get rid of the mold there. And this is the Speed Tool flattening bit that I'm using right now. Look how smooth and fast it's removing the epoxy and the cedar from the top of the slab. And this is also the Speed Tool router sled and router tray with dust collection. That's why there's not so many chips flying around either. So again, if you want to get in on the giveaway of that flattening bit, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notify button. Okay, I think that's enough plugs for one video. Okay, let's skip ahead to the last pass here, and then we'll take a look at how the slab looks.
All right, so I have my table now, the rough shape. I'm gonna carve this out a little bit on the sides to give it more of an organic shape. And then this piece of cedar here is going to be the base for it. Now I was thinking about just throwing it on top of that like that, but I don't know, it just doesn't look very good. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this into 4 pieces, and then I'm going to just splay them out at an angle. They're going to meet in the center and they're just going to splay down 4 legs. So how do I cut this? I don't have a bandsaw, so I think what I'm going to do is try to get the cut started with the table saw sled, and then I'll finish it up with a handsaw probably. So let's see how that goes. All right, so I think I have this first cut figured out. So I'm squared up in here now, and what I did is I have a couple of clamps. So you can see here I just have a couple of clamps with blocks of wood pushed up against each side of the piece, and it's pretty stable in here. It doesn't rock, so let's give this a go.
You know, I think I need to give my sled a bit of a wax here because this was fighting me the whole way. It was really hard to push it through, but we got through it. We made the cut. Though there is a little bit of squealing here at the end.
Sorry about the camera there. The sled hit it, so a little bit of a jitter. All right, I think that looks pretty good there. I wonder if I should try and mount it this way. I can't really because this knot right here is, there's no way I'll get this stable on here. So I think I'm gonna have to do this with the handsaw. But before I do this with the handsaw, yeah, I'm gonna do this with the handsaw first. I think when I cut this in half, then I can lay these flat on the table and make the other cuts really easily. So, all right, handsaw. All right, so I got it locked down in the Moxon vise. Now the next question is Japanese pull saw or Western handsaw. This is a little bit stiffer, the handsaw. This might be, it might be easier to control on the stroke. I'm just worried that the blade won't stay straight. I think what I'm going to do is start it with this, with the pull saw, kind of see how that goes, and then maybe once I get it started, try the Western saw. All right, let's go.
So the reason why I opted to start it with the pull saw was because the pull saws on the crosscut side is like 20 teeth per inch, and that Western saw is like 8 teeth per inch. And when you try to start it, it likes to jump and skip all over the place. So I figured if I got a nice groove started, then stuck the Western saw in there, then I could cut through it a bit faster. And it did work pretty well that way. The only issue I really had was that my bench here that has my Moxon clamp on it, or Moxon vise on it, isn't bolted to the ground, so it kind of moves a little. So I had to hold it with one hand and cut with the other hand, and it made it harder to eye a straight line, even though it did come out really straight. All right, I'm gonna skip forward here to the end because this is really tedious and boring. So let's jump ahead. Okay, so I'm at the point where I have to flip this around. It took a little longer than expected, but I think it's going quite nicely. So the next issue, I don't know, the top of this now is a little bit wider than the bottom, so I don't know if it's going to fit in the vise. I hope it does. I'm at the limit here. I'm hoping the screw doesn't come out of the... Oh, yeah, it fits. That is great. Alright, so tighten this up. Alright, nice and tight, and I'm going to start it with the pole saw again because I think that went well. Alright, so we're going to skip over most of this cutting here and just skip right to splitting it in half.
Yeah, I don't know if this is coming through on camera or not, but there's just a little bit of a uneven edge here from where the two joints met, the two saw cuts met. So I'm just going to run it through the joiner. I'm just going to face join it just to flatten it out a little bit.
Okay, now that I have both halves face jointed, I'm going to run them through the table saw again on the sled just to make quarters. And it looks like I still haven't waxed that sled. It's still hard to push through, but we get it done. Now we almost make it all the way through this time. There's just a little bit that I have to finish up on the handsaw.
All right, so the table saw didn't quite make it all the way through. I got about 3/4 of an inch here, and so I'm just going to finish this cut up with the pole saw.
But we are not going to watch all of this. We're going to fast forward right to the end, right till we have two pieces. There we go. Now if I can only get it out of the vise. And then we're going to get it cleaned up on the joiner. Okay, clean them up on the joiner now. Alright, so these pieces are actually jointed already. I just forgot to record it, so I'm just reenacting this for you. The joiner's not even running, that's just the dust collection you're hearing. Okay, here I'm using the angle grinder with an abrasive pad on there. And I'm just carving the tabletop here just to give it more of an organic shape. Nothing too crazy, just a couple of subtle curves on each side just to make it look more natural and match the Viking chair. I apologize about the shadows. I didn't realize when I was filming it was this bad. It's hard to tell on the little camera screen when I'm filming. And here I'm just using the random orbit sander just to smooth out with that abrasive disc left behind. And that's it for the shaping of the table, really. It was subtle. You'll see when I show the top-down shot that it's subtle, but it really softened it a lot. Okay, so you can see in this shot that it has more of a live edge look, and I'm going to work some of those sharper lines out. So now I'm just going to apply some teak oil as the finish. This is going to match the Viking chair. The Viking chair was finished the same way, just with a few coats of teak oil. It takes 3 or 4 coats. The cedar really absorbs it. Now with the teak oil, you can add as many coats as you need or want. The only prep work really, once you have the first coat on, the only prep work in between coats, like if you do another coat a month away, is just to make sure it's clean. Other than that, yeah, you just put additional coats. And what the teak oil does is it fills the pores. It helps with water. It does have UV protection, but it doesn't have a hardness to it. So there's no like scuff protection or anything like that. So generally, it's not really that great for tabletops, unless it's a really, really hard wood that has, its own natural protection against scratches. This with the epoxy top, it's kind of a little bit more scuff resistant, but I mean, it's an outside piece and I want it to look natural, so that's why I went with the teak oil. Now here on the legs, I'm just softening up the sharper edges. That inside 90, I just rounded that 90 out a little bit. And then these are getting the same treatment, just teak oil, 3 or 4 coats of teak oil, and that's it for the finish. And you can tell when you need more, it starts to look really dull. So after about the 4th coat, the consistency sort of stayed the same, so that's where I stopped. Now here I'm marking where I'm gonna lay the legs out. So I wasn't sure what I was gonna do with the legs. In the beginning of the video, I thought I was gonna splay them out, but that, like, holding them against it and looking at it, that wasn't looking right either. So I'm just putting just 4 straight legs on it. And the conundrum there was how to attach them. I thought about doweling it and then the domino, and I went with the domino. I was a little scared to do it. I don't use the domino that much, so I kind of forget, all the techniques, since it's kind of far and few between when I do use it. And when I do use it, it's usually for joining panels together, not for like butt joints like this. So it wasn't that bad. I just drew my lines, measured off my lines, and I used the index tabs that are built into the domino cutter to reference the legs. And the index tabs correlate with the plate. There's a line on the plate that's in the same spot as the index tab. So when I'm going straight down into the table, I'm using the plate line, and when I'm doing the legs, I use the tab to rest the leg up to, so I know that everything's in the same spot. So, like I said, it was a bit nerve-wracking. I did make a couple of mistakes while I was doing it. One, the tool, the domino cutter, like jumped on me when I first entered the cut. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if I hit the epoxy or what it was, but it kind of jumped, and I scuffed up the table a little bit. But luckily, that scuff is completely hidden by the legs, so you don't see that. And then you'll see a little further up, I referenced the wrong line on the plate, and I actually drilled the dominoes in the wrong spot. But again, the leg covered it because it was off by about a 1/4 inch, and the leg covered that 1/4 inch. But it was a little nerve-wracking. And here's where I'm using those reference tabs on the domino to domino the legs. So from that right angle, that corner there, I reference to the right, and then I reference to the left, and then that's how I get my location for the legs. And of course, you could do this just as easily with dowels or even pocket screws. You could get the pocket screws on those flat sides quite easily. So either one of those 3 methods would work great for attaching the legs to the table. And speaking of attaching legs to the table, I was feeling pretty good at this point where this leg just popped in nice and easy, but the rest of them didn't go so well. Okay, so here is where I first realized I had an issue. So if you look at the right side there, those 2 dominoes are offset, the vertical and the horizontal. But on the left side, they're in line with one another. The horizontal starts with right on top of the vertical. So I just put the domino cutter in the wrong spot when I cut the dominoes for that one side. And you'll see this leg just pops right in. And looking at the footage now, I'm sure what I did was just reference the wrong line on the plate of the domino cutter. I need to pay more attention when I'm doing these plunge cuts, I guess. So this is obviously after I plunged new holes into the table bottom, and now they fit correctly. And with that, that's a wrap on this video. If you like what you saw, a subscribe and a like would be appreciated. And I'm going to leave you with some glamour shots. Thanks for watching.